How's it, guys? This is just a backup for in case I can't make our chat on Wednesday. So I just thought I'd quickly chat through what was important and just on what part two is about. So part two is called "Standing in Your Masculinity," and it's basically just a breakdown of what that means, not only on a spiritual front, but also into the physical. Um, so to start off with that, I would like you to consider the fact that we do live in a universe that is that consists of duality. You know, it's night and day, and up and down, and that kind of stuff, and men and women, and we sorry about that. We live in this constant state of duality, and it even reaches so far into our language. I was actually telling someone the other day that in a previous ayahuasca journey, um, I was really getting into the thing of duality with the medicine, and it went so far as to show me the difference between please and thank you in duality, and it was showing me that please is basically, it literally means to please someone, and then thank you is giving thanks. It's saying I appreciate this thing that you have done for me. Or it can obviously be used in other ways too, but this is the main way we use it. And we say please, it's essentially begging. And we teach our children, that they need to say please. So we teach them they need to beg for things that they like. And not everyone will agree with this, but this is just something that came up for me, and it was very important and very special. I think it was actually pretty informative, and not only informative, but it was such a revealing thing in my own personal journey that it's something that will sit with me for the rest of my life, and also trying to implement it in my life to try and not say please as much. And I know it sounds maybe ungrateful, but you can always say things differently. Like if someone offers you for a cup of coffee, you don't have to say yes please. You can say yes and thank you very much. I'll appreciate that very much. So just diving into the duality. So just like there are a masculine energy, there's also a feminine energy, and we consist of both of those. We consist of a masculine and a feminine energy, but as men we tend to lean more towards the masculinity, and somehow we have forgotten what this really means. I don't know if you remember, but in the first chat we were talking about the four agreements in society today, and the four agreements in society today, what qualifies you as a man is strength, courage, responsibility, and to be the provider. That's the four agreements. So what is the pillar? What is that hold up? So as you have pillars, like if I sit underneath my house has four pillars, and my stoop has four pillars, and there's four pillars to hold a great weight up. And now if we think to ourselves, ask yourself the question, and I want you to really, really think about this. What does the four pillars of strength, courage, responsibility, and being a provider hold up for a man? What is that main thing that we as men are expected to be in this society today? So I'm just giving you guys a thought to just think about it for a second, and really, really, really to think about it. Okay, so according to me, it's power, because with strength there comes power. With courage means you need to overcome something that is scary. So it's being in a place that isn't safe that you require courage. Even in relationships, I hear this, I needed to find the courage to tell my partner this and this thing. And that means that you didn't feel safe in the beginning, but whatever, it's a thing of power. And then responsibility, it's power, because you are now responsible for the people in your life, and for the animals, and for nature, because you do come from the earth, and in some sense we need to be custodian of the earth. So that is basically, and then the provider too. Sorry, the provider, I almost skipped right over it. So it's basically the same thing as responsibility, but responsibility is more like if my daughter has, if we go to someone's house and my daughter breaks their car's window, then I need to be responsible for that because she's still a child and I'm the responsible person in my family, um, especially amongst the children. I don't know so much amongst my partner, but I'm definitely the most responsible amongst my children. So, and then providers, obviously, we need to go to work, we need to do things, we need to bring some kind of value into our family to 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 be of value in our family, and in its essence that is creating a power structure in your house, and not just in your house but within yourself too. So that's the four pillars is of today's modern society, is basically power. And I can promise you this, and maybe not a promise is maybe a strong word, but power was not the intention you set forward when you decided to come into this physical space. Because those of you who don't know it, and you might not agree with it, but I'm just bringing forward an idea that essentially before you were born, you basically chose all these scenarios that are happening in your life, and you said, okay, I want to experience this, I want to experience this, I want to experience this, and you shot a piece of yourself into this reality, and you said, okay, well, now I will experience these things, and you came in with the main objective is love. And love has been such a thrown around word these days that we actually don't know what it truly means. I remember it's a little bit of a personal story, but I remember when someone in my family used to give me a hiding or shout at me, when I used to get disciplined on a physical level or even on an emotional level, they used to say, I'm not smacking you because I hate you, I'm smacking you because I love you. And that's something that they heard from their parents too, and it was a lie. It was a straight out lie. They were frustrated and they were taking out their anger out on me. And me being in that situation was just showing that I didn't have a safe space to be able to feel out my emotions. So instead I would act out and do something bad, because even that bad thing would get me attention. It wouldn't necessarily be the attention that I was seeking, but it was attention nevertheless. So there would be something, that I would do, like maybe my dad and then hated when I caught snakes. I remember getting lots of hidings for that, or I used to steal a lot, and back then I just thought, okay, fine, I'm addicted to stealing. But no, I was addicted to attention. I was addicted to attention, no matter the form and what it came. I was just addicted to attention. So, how do we start this off? What does it mean to stand in your masculinity? So first of all, we need to understand what has happened to our masculinity. Where is it, and what has been the confines of this issue in young men? And I was sitting and thinking about it for a long time, and actually looking at a lot of people that speak on masculinity, and something that really popped up for me was mentorship. Mentorship is a big one, and we don't have mentorship anymore, because the people that we idolize, especially when you haven't really gone through a spiritually profound experience in your life, and you haven't had to I like to put it this way: you have to lose yourself to find yourself. And early on in life, I feel like that whole part of life is losing yourself. So we do things that everyone else wants us to do. We do things because we see our idols do them on TV, and eventually this starts to slowly but surely start losing your purpose of why you came into this physical space. Now I want you to think about this nicely. It's not just something that I'm just jumping up and making sense of. Think about your life. Truly think about your life in your younger years, and maybe even now. And think about how many true mentors have you had in your life that came to you and was able to sit with you and actually listen to you, and not try and give you advice, but just sit with you, experience you, witness you, and just sit with you in your discomfort and your pain, and even in your joy and your happiness, because even that is hard for people to do. Even though some people may love you very much, they won't be able to sit in your happiness. And I'm thinking about a story now about someone in my life too, like um, a person who was a male figure in my life. And then my mom got remarried, and she met this man, and he was a massive Christian, and he played guitar and he sung like an angel. And all of a sudden, this man became a mentor for me. And it wasn't really a mentor, it was more someone I was looking up to, because later on I would realize that he also had demons, and we all do in some states. And unfortunately I lost a lot of respect because of things that were coming out of his mouth and out of his heart, and it was very sad. But in that time when I was finding this new mentor, I was like kind of feeling happy about it. I was happy that I had someone that I could look up to. So here's something as well, like in my family, especially on my dad's side, there was never an intimacy, uh, not a romantic one, but more of a relational one, where we would never hug each other and we would never give each other a kiss. So if I had to see other children, other boys giving their dads kisses, it would completely stun me. I wouldn't even understand what was going on. It wouldn't make any sense to me. I would think, I used to like to use the word morphe. I would think, is this guy morphe? Is he kissing his dad? And later on, I realized that I was never taught if affection. And then when my mom eventually married this man, he was a very affectionate man, and every now and then he would just walk past me and would say, "I love you very much, my boy," and that used to really soften my heart in a few aspects of uh, of relational intimacy. I was getting that, and he used to give me hugs, and that was very strange for me. And then this person in my life who I was looking up to as a mentor actually got physically jealous. He got jealous, and he would make fun. So this guy would make songs, and he would make Christian songs, and one of the lyrics was about Jesus being crucified to the cross, and he said it's a man nailed to a tree, and then my dad was racist, so he used a racial slur. I actually just popped out who I'm talking about, but Dad, I love you very much. This is old stories, and we have a great relationship now, according to me. And he said a racial slur, and he said, you know, this kind of thing nailed to a tree. And I was like, this man's actually talking about about Jesus. And back then I was very Christian and very defensive of my relationship with spirituality, because it felt like I needed to be. um, and I realized that in that state, in that second, my father wasn't happy for he wasn't sitting with me in my happiness. He was sitting with me in a place of not knowing how to handle his son looking up to another male. And I can completely understand that. I don't know if I would be able to completely let that happen in my children's relationship. If their mother has to get married to some man, and he's a complete saint, and they just fall completely in love with him, I don't know how I would handle that. And but sometimes we have to put away our ego and just kind of set aside these things that break down our heart. So yeah, that's what I'm trying to get onto. Sorry, I digress so much. As soon as I get into a story, then it has to carry on. So mentorship, where is the mentorship gone? Where has that gone to? And I'm not talking about going to a church and going sitting there with a church leader and that kind of stuff, because essentially that's also not really mentorship. Mentorship is going to someone that does something that you want to be doing in your life, and you go to someone that either does it better than you, or they have longer experience. And then instead of trying to become better than that person, now you go and sit with that person and say, listen, I really love what you are doing. How can we work together? And this is now me as a young man, and I think I found that past 2 weekends ago. I really sat with someone who I really look up to and said that I'm really, really looking forward to working with you in the future, and this is something that's going to be very, very important in my life, because I want to be working with the same kind of integrity that you hold in these spaces, and to my surprise, I wasn't expecting it. He said, sure, let's do it. And that was like a dream come true for me, like a recent dream. It's not a old dream. I used to have dreams of owning Ferraris and stuff like that, but I don't have dreams like that anymore now. So it's more of a personal growth thing that's happening for me now. Then, when 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 this mentorship happens, and after we've run through that, now we as men have to go through a few things, and now there's pillars as well, and you can choose whichever ones you want to, but they normally consist of someone that's living through love, someone that's living to actually help better people. They're living through initiation. So there's initiation in mentorship, some kind of initiation, whatever it may be. Eventually the person who's mentoring you becomes they don't feel like doing this anymore. They've been doing this for long enough, and they want to sit back now and just become an elder and someone who's a respective person in the community and help in that way. So then you go through initiation to take that space over, and that's something that's very beautiful. And then protection. So these are things that you need to be offering as soon as you have stepped into your masculinity. You need to be offering this to people: is initiation, protection, action, positive ownership, and generosity. Generosity is a big one. That's a very big one. Encouragement and intellect. How do we put those things together? How do we find out which ones work for us? So this might take you a while to figure out, and especially if you haven't really fully stood in your masculinity. And I'm sure there has been times in your life where you were fully in your masculinity and you knew exactly what your values were at that moment. And I don't mean picking a fight with the biggest guy in the bar and then you felt brave, and that was no, that's not masculinity. That's called drunken courage. I'm talking about really standing in your masculinity and standing up for what you believe in, and not being bullied and not being walked over, not just by the people in your family, but by the people in your job, the people in checkers, a guy pushing into the line. That's maybe a small thing, but little things like that. Being passive is not taking action in your life. Being passive is exactly what the world has been trying to turn people into, men, is to be passive, and you go and ask a woman. We were actually talking about this weekend, me and a friend of mine. We did a little men's retreat just by ourselves. It was actually very beautiful, where we sat with two teacher plants, and and in that space we were coming to the conclusions, that women want a man that can essentially feel his feelings and can show his emotion. But as soon as you fall off your white horse, then a problem has arisen, because now you have a woman that's wanted a passive man, but as soon as she got one, she realized at the same time he couldn't take action, and then in that loses all respect. So women must also watch out what they're looking for in men. Are they looking for a masculine man, or are they looking for a passive man that they can push underneath their thumb for the rest of their lives, and then essentially probably lead them into depression and suicide? So that's what I lived with a lot of my life. I had women in my life that wanted to keep me like this, and even up until a while back, I had a woman in my life that was very, very possessive over my choices, and very manipulative if I didn't fall into what she thought was right, not only in my personal life, but as well as just with little chores around things that she needed to have done. And I just think to myself, sorry, my shoe fell off. I just think to myself that at these stages, when we go through these initiations, because that was definitely an initiation for me, was to put my boundary down and say, till here and no more further, not even in one more step. It's done now. And sometimes that looks like telling someone to leave you alone for a bit, and to tell them that you truly do love them and you're thankful very much for what they have done for you in your life, but now it's time to move on. And it doesn't have to be an ugly thing, and you'll know if you're doing the right thing because you will literally speak about this person in a respectful way, and that person will have nothing good to say about you. And it's unfortunate. It's not because you did anything wrong. It's because that's all they have left now. They have the people around them who can listen to what you have done wrong. And this is a good sign that you've probably started moving into your masculinity slowly. Then, as a man, when you have figured all these things out, now you need to be held accountable. And how does that happen? It's by looking to your mentors and chatting to them, and every now and then they'll ask you, like, how are you doing, physically, mentally, and spiritually, how are you doing? And then being completely honest is one of the biggest ways that you can fall into your masculinity, because you'll be honest. You won't be lying about it. You won't say, everything's fine, but actually it's not. You need to really just sit and speak about these things. And then when you become accountable, then all the other men around you in your life, you also hold them to some certain degree of accountability. I don't know if this makes any sense, but while I'm busy speaking about it, it's triggering quite a lot of general sad emotion in me, because I know that for a fact no one in my life held me accountable for standing in my masculinity, but what they were holding me accountable for was just my bad deeds, and never the good ones. They were never saying, thank you for doing that. They just expected that needed to be done, but they would give a lot of attention to things that we weren't doing right. And I think to a certain degree that will lead you out of your masculinity and more into like a troublemaking state. I won't even say into your feminine energy, because I don't think that's true either. So at the end of May, we're going to be doing a beautiful men's retreat. I'm looking forward to it so much. We're going to be working with the grandfather plant, which is San Pedro, and it's going to be quite a high dose, and I'm very much looking forward to everyone who's going to be there. We took a very small dose this weekend, and the amount of realizations and the profound energies that were shared between just two people was so powerful. So I can't wait to see what happens when we're in that. So just to talk a little bit more about the ceremony and what that entails, we're going to be creating a sacred container, and that's going to consist of a few things, but the most important thing is going to be confidentiality and honesty. So confidentiality will give people the right to know that anything that is said in this space will stay in this space. And that is so important. As soon as you feel safe to speak to someone about something, and believe you me, it takes long to feel safe with someone, to speak about something that is close to your heart. It takes long, like really long, especially if you have trust issues. And I used to have plenty of trust issues. I didn't even trust the sun outside some days. And then the next part is honesty. So as soon as you feel that you are safe and you're in a container, and this container provides confidentiality, then you are able to be honest. And with honesty, we are able to bring out all our pains and burdens, and together as men, that we can sit with each other and actually listen and hold space for each other. So what does holding space mean? It means sitting with someone and just letting them be heard, not giving advice, not bringing in your 2 cents. Like, you literally have to say nothing to this person. I think if anyone has ever sat with me in a space where we needed to hold our space, and they needed some kind of advice on what's going on in their life, they would ask me. They would say, what do you think I should do? And then I would play around with it. I also wouldn't get too deep into it, because everyone's on their own individual path, and you can't really put your advice into people's lives. You can share your life experience with them, sure, and then maybe they can get something out of that, but they might also not. So even when we now going to be doing these ceremonies and we'll be holding space, no one is going to give any advice. No one is going to be putting any of their belief systems onto people, because that won't be allowed. It will be struck out straight away. And we will be sitting with each other in the most sacred way as men, just really going through our emotions, because sometimes at home we don't have the opportunity to sit and really let go of our emotions, either because you're not understood or because your partner doesn't really have a sense of holding space, or either just because you are scared that you bringing up something that is maybe going to be hurtful towards your partner, not hurtful in a malevolent, in a bad way, but hurtful in a you're pointing out something that they do wrong that they might not like to hear. A lot of people don't like to hear what they do wrong, believe you me. Neither do I, but I try and listen to it, because maybe I am doing something wrong, and I really try and listen to it, and I sit with it for a few weeks. I really do. I really sit with it and figure out, like, is this really something that I'm doing wrong, or is this person playing victim? And that's a hard thing to navigate through, but I think with some practice and just some understanding of what it means to sit in your masculinity and holding space, you'll quickly find the path through that and figure out what it means. Is it something you are doing, or is it something that is trying to manipulate you into feeling bad? And this is where accountability comes in too. You can even go and speak to your mentor, or whoever it is, and say, listen, that this is something that was brought up in between me and my partner, or me and my boss, or me and my child, and this is something that I'm confused about, and you just need to give me some clarity on that if you can. So then to the next point we're going to go, sense of power. So this connects back to the four agreements again, the four pillars that are holding up that power structure that men have to be in. And now you need to ask yourself, if one of those four pillars had to go down, then that whole power structure would come down with it. So who are you when you do not have that power structure over you anymore? Who are you when you have lost your job and you are not the provider anymore? Who are you when you got into a car accident and maybe now you can't provide any protection for your family? Who are you when those power structures come down? Who are you when you've went through something so traumatic, and it could be anything, it could really be anything, that you are so traumatized that you no longer have the ability to be courageous? Who are you then? And I want you to ask yourself that question. It's something very important, I think, but it's not something that I feel like I want to answer right now, but we'll maybe get into it in the ceremony, just depending on how that looks. Okay, so what's the next step and our next point in standing in your masculinity? It's radical ownership. So now maybe you're asking yourself, what does radical ownership looks like? Radical ownership is basically taking accountability, but on yourself, and it's radically honest. So now I've met a lot of people in the conscious community and the spiritual groups and all the healing groups and whatever, and a lot of these people are like, I don't belong here, I'm on this earth, and I fucking hate these people, and everyone's hurting everyone, and I just wish I could die and go back to the star system I came from, and whatever. And then I want you to sit and think about that for a second, and to think that if this place is the place that you are living out your shadow, basically figuring out something that needs to be sorted out in this lifetime. If that is true, don't you think that when you came down to this physical plane that you were, sorry, I'm just getting a call here. I just want to quickly send them a message. I'll call you back. There we go. Don't you think that you would be sent down with a group of people that would emulate that to you and reflect that back to you, that thing that you came to work on? So instead of saying that, you know what, I'm now this spiritual person and I'm not like these people, I don't eat this and I don't drive cars because it leaves a carbon footprint, and I don't use oil painting because they take it from the earth. You know, I'm this complete saint. Then you really need to start asking yourself, are you willing to sit alone on a hill for the rest of your life in this little love bubble that only you can fit in? Or are you willing to become a part of the problem? And then as doing that, becoming part of the solution, because excluding yourself from the problem doesn't mean that you're now creating the solution. It means that you're being very selfish. It means that you are turning away. You're turning your back from the people that need to hear a very clear message of what it means to be a human, and not only in your masculine and feminine energy. It's a little bit different when it comes to the feminine energy. Sorry, I can't seem to say that word properly today. So we need to become a part of the problem, and we need to really just sit and figure out, what are we doing? What little choices can we be doing, even if they are minute, very, very small choices? What are those choices that we are doing to better this place where we came from? Because I am an earthling and so are you, and even if you might not believe it, you are on this planet right now. You have come from this planet, and you will go back to this planet one day, and then wherever you land up after that, who knows? I am no expert on death, not yet. I suppose I'll die one of these days, and then I'll try and make some notes about it, and when I come back, I'll see if I can remember and do a video about that. I'd love to. So how do we start? Where do we start to get back into our masculinity? And I love to do this, is go sit in nature, go sit outside, put your phone down. I haven't been doing it lately, I'm going to be very honest. In the last few months, I haven't been doing it. I've been needing a lot of things to distract me from all the little things that are happening in my life, which are on a personal level very, very destructive to me. But I'm getting there again. It's starting to calm down now, and I'm getting there. And I'm also realizing that whatever happens in my life is happening for a reason, and maybe I don't understand it right now, and that's okay. So we just need to let things happen sometimes, but we also need to take some kind of responsibility for how we feel, and we can't be blaming other people. We cannot be blaming other people. You know, even the people that I was talking about a little bit earlier on in this chat, that the people that were giving me all this negative attention, and the people that were manipulative towards me, that was me. I needed a reflection of that to show that to me, because I was doing that as well, and I really was. I was doing that to a big extent, and I think maybe still sometimes I fall into that pattern too, but luckily I catch myself very quickly. It takes some practice though. It took me lots of practice and a few altered state journeys with plant medicine to realize, you know, all these little details that I didn't see but that are very important. So getting back to basics, go sit in nature, take off your shoes, put your feet in the sand, plant some flowers, plant some veggies. What an amazing experience if you can do that for every day, you know, at least for maybe an hour a day. Just go sit in your garden and do something. On weekends when you're not working, get out into the bush, go walk on someone's farm, go to a nature reserve and just do something. Try ones with no lions. You know, it's much safer if you're walking around, and just go walk around and truly immerse yourself into what nature really is, and then you'll see the duality of things, and not only the duality, it's this love. It's not like a love where we hold our children and we say we love you, we'll protect you from everything that is bad. No, it's this different love. It's a very very different love. It's like a love that sees that you're about to put the knife into an electric socket, and it doesn't say anything, and it just watches you. And when you do it and you pull it out and you are crying because of this massive shock that just ran through your body, this you've almost become a little bit traumatized to that no one would warn you, but now you know firsthand. And this is the kind of love that this universe and this earth offers, is that find out for yourself, and no matter what you find out and what you come back with, nothing will be held against you. Nothing. Not one thing. It's like very much I took one of my daughters to a Montessori school. I don't know if you know what that means, but it's basically they teach them how to make food, and they teach them how to wash glasses and play with breakable things, and like they kind of let them explore life. And I thought that was a great idea. It was just very expensive, so I couldn't afford it, unfortunately. But I thought it was such a great idea, because I have said this my whole life. My child was jumping on a couch one day, on one of my couches, and this lady came into my house and said, "You can't let her do that, she'll fall and hurt herself." I'm like, well, then she'll never do it again. And this has been an experience in my life and with my children, and this is how I try and work with my kids. And, one of my younger daughters was holding my Alsatian around the neck, and I told her, you mustn't do that. Doggies don't like to be held like that. And then one day she did it again, and the dog bit her in the face. Luckily nothing serious, just like a few scrape marks and maybe a bruise. And she learned. Guess what? She's never ever done that again. Now she treats him with respect and she rubs him. So this is the kind of universe we live in. We need to get back to nature and see that. And you'll see that very, very quickly if you look at nature and you actually see the birds coming to the tree and then taking seeds and then flying away, and then their droppings fall into the grass. That seedling has no idea if it's going to make it or not, but you know what? It's going to try its very, very, very best. Exactly where it starts to grow, it's going to try its best to be the best seed, and then eventually the best seedling, and then the best tree it can be. It's not competing against anyone else, it's competing against itself. It's living its full purpose. And us as people, men and women, we stop ourselves from living our purpose because of lots of things. This can be a whole different chat, but that's definitely one of my how to get to stand back in your masculinity is go sit in nature. Even go look at gorillas and lions, and look at all the different males, the masculine energy in the animal kingdoms, and all of them are very different. You'll see with the birds, they like to put on a show for the females, and they build the nests to impress the females. Gorillas put on some sort of show. They want to show their power, because they are essentially the ones that protect the tribe, or their little clan, or whatever you want to call them. I'm not sure what you call them now. And then stuff like lions, they just have this massive mane, and the youngest one, that is the strongest at the same time, is the one that gets to breed with all the females, and the females seem to do all the work. Look at honeybees. The males, I think, are all the workers, and the females, well, the males do, I can't remember what they do. I think they just breed with the queen, and the females go out and find everything. So it's all for the good of the system. And if you look at that, it's a very small way of putting something so big as our universe and duality into perception, where we know that we need to be working together for the greater good, for the system. And a lot of times that looks like falling into your masculinity and falling into your divinity, if I can put it so briefly. Okay, then so this is a big thing that's been popping up in my life, is as men, not only as men, but as a human being, we very often look for partners for the wrong reasons, and I think this puts a lot of strain on people. So I think a lot of time people look for partners because they are lonely, and that is a hard place to be in, because I don't think essentially that's what a partner is for. I think a partner is someone that has to witness your life with you, because we don't always have video cameras, and if you do something really cool and you have a partner with you, you're like, oh my goodness, check what I just did, that's amazing. And when that partner is there, she gets to acknowledge it and say, yes, that was something that's extraordinary. And when she does the same thing, then vice versa. So you guys are witnessing each other's lives. And how this affects us as men is that because of conditioning in our either our families or TV, we've learned that to be a man means that we need to be in it for the physical relationship. And although men do require a physical relationship, that's the way that they know that they are being loved at that moment. They feel like they have a connection with this person. Women do it on the other way. They actually need the emotion. They need the safety, emotional safety, before that they actually get into the physical act of sex. Is she needs to feel safe, and he needs to feel like you love him. He needs to feel loved, and that's a very hard thing for people that are together for the wrong reason, I think. It doesn't mean that they're together in the wrong reason and it won't work. It means that maybe they were together in the wrong reason, but now they can figure it out together. So it takes two very substantial people to go into their shadow and go and find out what isn't working for them, so that they can find out what will work. And yeah, I think that has been a very core lesson. Sorry, a core lesson in my life lately is just figuring out what does it really mean to be standing in my masculinity. And to me, that basically means standing up for my boundaries, having boundaries that are kind and loving, but at the same time not letting people walk over them. And then when they do walk over them, and believe you me, they will, because people test boundaries. Not only people, children, animals, everyone, pets, everyone tests boundaries. And when they do walk in them, is basically stopping that, but with love. And that's very hard to do, especially if this person's been pushing your buttons for a long time. So it's very easy to lose your temper. But that's just something that you have to work on. This is going to be a long journey. I just want you guys to know that right now, the people that are joining ceremony, this is not just going to be, we're going to go to a ceremony and we're going to know what it is to be a man. And anyone that tells you that and that says that after this ceremony you're going to know exactly what it means to be a man, they're lying to you, unfortunately, because that person doesn't know what it means to be a man, and they don't know how to stand in their honesty. They don't know how to be honest with themselves. So this takes a while. You don't have to change everything all at once. It takes a long time. So it takes one step at a time. So you'll figure out one problem in your life and you'll start working on that until you have it down. And then the next problem will come up, and maybe you'll go through 10 problems, and then maybe the first one will pop up again, but in a different level, in a different, it'll show its face in a different way, and then you'll try and figure that out too. So don't worry, it's all gonna work out eventually. And even if it takes you your whole life, that's fine. I mean, you have your whole life to do this. This isn't something that needs to happen straight away, so don't rush it. Okay, and then another thing. So I've realized this with men, that a lot of men don't know what their purpose is. They don't know what they get up for in the morning. So I want to ask you, and I want you to really sit and think about this. What do you look forward to? Like, what are the things that when you get out of bed, you actually look forward to them? And if your answer is, which most likely will be most people's answer, is, when I get up in the morning, I'm so glad to get out of my house with my wife and my kids, just to get a break and go and work for a boss. That is most people's response. Most men, if they're truly being honest with themselves, they will shake their head and say, yes, that is one of the things that has really been something special to me. And then you get men that stay at home with their wives every day, and oh my goodness, you should see those relationships. They are pretty rough, because the man never gets to get away, the woman never gets to get away, especially if she's working home too. Then you just have this constant collision between the two people that are supposed to be a team, and geez, man, that's a very hard thing to witness. So what do you get up for in the morning? What is your purpose? And what standards do you set with the purpose? What is that? what is the purpose that you are trying to unfold in your life? And we can have a whole long discussion about this too. Actually, if someone wants to know what their purpose is, I really, really just suggest doing something that you love and carry on doing that until other opportunities come by that will add on to that. And I don't know if everyone is very clear about their purpose. Like, I don't even think I'm clear about my purpose. I think maybe it is to be someone who works in plant medicine. Maybe it is to be a musician and sing to the world. Maybe it is to be one of the biggest reptile breeders in the world. And I would love to do all those things, but now we have to come to some kind of a conclusion, some kind of a place where we need to figure out what is important right now. So I have 3 little things that I'm really looking forward to doing in my life and with my life, because you must know your purpose, the cost of having your purpose fulfilled will be your life. So that's a little bit of a hard way to think about it, but if you do think about it, the cost of having your purpose fulfilled will be your life, because you have to slowly but surely move into your purpose, which means taking action. So again, we can go back to those pillars. I brought up a few, but you could use any ones you want to. Is initiation, protection, action, positive ownership, generosity, encouragement, and intellect. So taking action, giving encouragement to other people, generosity, being generous. So this doesn't mean giving food or it does mean that too, and money, and being generous in that way. But being truly generous is giving up your time to someone that really, really needs it, and then not going around and saying, I gave a person time, I'm such a saint, I'm such a good person. And it's always me being nice, and it's never something else. That's a very bad way to look at it. It means you have some spiritual ego going on there, and we all do essentially in some case, and that's fine. But start to notice it. When you're generous, give your time out to people. There's a line in the Bible that says, don't let your right hand, your left hand, see what your right hand is doing. And I think that's very important, is when you give to someone, no matter what it is, even if it's just some affection or a hug or your time, you don't need to tell anyone else about it. You don't need to tell your partner about it. You don't need to tell your kids about it. You don't need to make any kind of statement to show people what a good person you are. That's not how generosity works. You really need to sit and think about that and try and redefine what it means. And I know that we need some sense of some self-worth in ourselves too, but that's not how you get it. You get it by standing in masculinity and then becoming authentic. So that's another one that gets thrown around a lot these days. I'm standing in my authenticity, and I'm here praying to the moon every 3 days, and I plant a seed every second day. We can all do stupid shit like that, but being authentic is actually being comfortable in your skin. It's being okay with you. And that is a terribly hard thing to do, because what needs to happen? So like I said in the beginning of this, we sit in a place of duality. So just like you have a good side, you have a bad side too. And now you have to sit with both of those sides and accept them and love them both equally. Even though it's things that maybe you don't agree with, you have to love them and say, thank you very much for being a part of my life, because somewhere in my life you've pushed me into a direction that I would have never gone to if it wasn't for this thing that happened in my life. It's something very powerful to think about, I think. So yeah, that's that. And then so it was purpose, standards, and then awareness. And I was chatting a little bit on this now too. It's you need to figure out in your life and be very brutally honest with yourself what isn't working. And I don't mean financial things, and I don't mean physical things. I actually mean things on the spiritual, but they also work on the other levels too. They also work on the mind space and the physical space. We need to figure out what isn't working, and then start taking steps toward the things that are working. The things that are working, the things that we are proud of, and this isn't your Mercedes Benz in the garage that you're proud of, or your villa on the beach that you're proud of, or the holiday that you take once a year, because of your Christmas bonus that you're proud of, or your son that's made first team in the cricket team, or your first team on the rugby team, or this massive fish that you have mounted to your wall, or not that kind of proud. I mean, does it fulfill you? Is it something that truly, truly, truly you look at that and say, I have done that, I did that? And still, again, not the fish that you put on your wall, because I know a lot of us like to catch fish, even myself included, and I'm not very good at it, but when I do catch one, oh my word, I have something to say about it. I'm very proud of that. So we need to figure that out. And yeah, essentially, I don't really feel like I've answered too many questions, because that's not my place. I just wanted to bring a few ideas forward, and then kind of open up some kind of curiosity within your minds to make you really, really think about these things on a different level. And if you guys have any questions about anything, please don't feel scared to ask me something. I'm really open about anything. I don't really care what it is. Um, it can be any little thing. Please give me a shout, and I'll see if I can sit and hold space for you, or if you need advice, then I'll try my best to see if I have any for you, and I'll be very honest with you if I don't. Believe you me, I've had a lot of people that try to ask me things, and I said I don't know what to tell you, and they just look at me like, aren't you supposed to be this person that helps people? And yes and no. I'm here to show people that they have the ability to stand in their authenticity and their masculinity and their spirituality by themselves. They have the power to heal themselves, mind, body, and soul. That is what I'm here to show people. I'm not here to show you how to live my life, or how to live someone's life that I admire or appreciate. So that is it. If you watching this, it's most likely that because I couldn't get to the talk on time, and I actually think that this is a very nice little talk. I need to go and listen through it again and make sure that I actually make sense. But either or, even if I don't make sense, I know that this will spark some kind of curiosity in people's minds, and help them think for themselves. Aho, hush hush. Hope you guys have a beautiful, beautiful evening, and I love you guys with my whole heart. See those of you who are coming to the men's retreat soon, and please give me a shout if you need any information. All right.